State of the Nation issues, maybe I should start from the rear about this ambassadorial nominees. Now, a lot of reactions to the list from people saying, oh, it's a list of political jobbers. Some people should not be on that list. In fact, I've seen some stories saying that certain persons should not even be cleared by state security because in the past they used to abuse the president and call him all kinds of names. And, now they say the president is the best thing since Jesus Christ. So what's your reaction to all the responses to the ambassadorial list?
Actually, our posture from the presidency is to maintain of silence until when the National Assembly are able to run through the confirmation process, because we feel that if we throw energy behind that, it will amount to prejudicing the decision of the National Assembly, because subjecting them to confirmation is also part of the processes in my belief that will lead up to them being now sworn in as ambassadors. If it is because of the political decision of the president, I mean, those who understand politics, they know that political environment is toxic. It's up to individuals who occupy a privileged position to exercise discretion, that they will decide, okay, this one, I will appoint him even though he worked against me in the past, or I will not work with people who worked against me in the past. But looking at the history and trajectory of President Bwala Tinubu, I think I can say more than 70% of people who are with him here have worked against him at some point in the past. So he's not one that
including present company.
The individuals, some of the
present company.
well, I don't know. But I know that as a fact, because when I first met him the 10th of January last year, as soon as I walked in, I was trying to apologize for the fact that when I left him after the primaries, he was trying to get in touch with me, and I was avoiding that. I couldn't tell an elder no, but my mind was made up. He said, no, you don't even have to go to that extent. My only pain is that if you had listened to me, you would have known that what you thought was your fear is not what is associated or identified with me, the Muslim ticket. And then we went beyond that. But in terms of people who worked against him, I mean, he made it clear to me, narrating individuals who in the past have worked with him, and he said his mother influenced him in that area. That she said, if as the head of the women in the market, if you are going to be angry with people just because they offended you, you will wake up one morning and see that there are no people for you to lead. So that is his own idea. But I think that whether somebody is confirmed or not has nothing to do with whether the person says something against the president, but whether the person poses a threat to national security and national interest. And these are the things that I believe that the Senate will look into. That's why we don't want to throw a weight, whether for or against, until after their confirmation.
Okay, I understand that position. However, I mean, the truth and the question is around even the decision-making process of the executive, especially with appointments. I don't think it should just be left to the Senate alone. Yes, the Senate has their responsibility, but even the process or even the fact that someone was nominated, for instance, the nomination of the Minister of Defense, largely across many, areas, sectors, have praised that move. And so when he went before the Senate did their job and scrutinized him rigorously. There are names on that list. I'm sure you've heard what public opinion, you've heard from experts, you've heard from analysts around not just whether or not they abuse the president, even questioning their qualification or bona fide to be on that list. There's some people on there who have been judged as not having even the temperament for work in diplomacy. There are people through maybe their outbursts on social media, what they have said, their communication, their language, their integrity has been questioned. There are people who worked in the INEC in the last election, almost immediately getting an appointment by this presidency. That's what we're asking about, not whether or not they abuse. I mean, beyond, of course, that's a point, but also because you're saying around the Senate, it's even how qualified are they to have that? That's on one hand. On insecurity, you said in a recent interview that the federal government does not negotiate or pay ransom. It beggars belief then how a rescue mission was organized in Kebbi State without at least an obvious show of force or any single arrest, at least to the best of our knowledge at this point. I'd like you to answer those questions.
So with respect to the former chief of defense staff and now being a minister, and having a widespread support is because he was in active service before now. He has never participated in politics. That's why I started by saying that the political environment is toxic. Somebody who has not been a politician will easily pass in the minds of the people. But if you have been involved in political activity in Nigeria, you must have stepped on nerves. You must have offended some people. There are people who will not want your progress. But above all, since these people exercise, when they are confirmed, they work at the pleasure of the president. It is up to the president to determine what he has to take.
I'm asking about competence.
Yeah, we see there is no statute or book that talks about a requirement for being appointed as ambassador. That's why you have career ambassadors who are in the embassies. They can advise, they can run diplomatic issues. An ambassador is a political position appointment which a president exercises. He can choose to bring a former diplomat. He can choose to bring a pure politician. It's just like appointing somebody as Minister of Defense. Until Buhari, all of the ministers of defense, they never had any military experience. They are pure civilians. So political appointment is different. Now, in terms of whether the people have participated in a toxic environment, I mean, if you look at where we always look up to as the model of democracy, this Marco Rubio that you're saying, if you see the things he said about Donald Trump, even in the primaries, then you come to J.D. Vance, you see them surrounded. In terms of appointment of INEC chairman, in America, there are justices of the Supreme Court. Donald Trump appointed them only because they gave a judgment favorable to the Republican ideology. That was his consideration.
Right. Because America did it doesn't make it right.
No, but I am saying the democracy was not handed by God. It came from them. So what we do is we modify where we can, and then where we can't, we then work with what we have.
Okay, I mean, you haven't answered the question, of course. So, like temperament, outbursts, you're saying that there was no qualification around that.
Yes,
didn't matter when the president was appointed.
I think that the basic thing is you must be adjudged fit and proper. Now, that is generic. I mean, the definition as to whether somebody is fit and proper is subjective. Somebody can say, I like the temperament of this one. Another person can say, I don't like the temperament. There are people in government right now. You can also question their temperament. Now, your choice of rice might be different from my own. Maybe you want fried and I want pure white rice. But I'm trying to suggest to you, the bottom line is the man recruiting them. Whether these people would fit, because Section 5 is clear. The executive powers of the federation lies in the president. So he runs the government by himself or through delegation. He makes a choice of who he delegates. If he makes a bad choice, he will see it. But the beauty of democracy is that we don't go about looking for perfect people. We go about looking for people who will have to work. Even the course of work, you do anything wrong, you'll be sacked. That's how democracy is built. Even pastors, you appoint somebody, you anoint somebody as a pastor, and you thought that that is heaven on earth. He starts and then he misbehaves. Then you subject him to disciplinary measure. Democracy does not foreclose or close itself from the possibility of error. The government itself is not perfect. In the course of running governance, you take feedback from Nigerians, you adjust and you correct and you move on.
Okay, so we shouldn't expect excellence or perfection from this administration. Now, going on to
that's a conclusion.
No, based on it's a summation from what you've said.
No.
Okay, but based on insecurity, just so we can on insecurity around the students. And
with respect to the security,
you said no ransom.
Yes, the federal government has not paid, will not pay, and does not encourage anybody to pay ransom. In terms of determining whether ransom was paid just because the operation that was carried out was smooth and clear, if you talk to people who are from the intelligence platform, they will tell you there are many considerations in determining how hostage taking and rescue are conducted. It's not in all cases that when people are rescued from hostage operation, that they must have paid money. That's why there was no exchange of gun. No, there are many other areas. I will give you one or two in a hurry. One is that if these people who wreak havoc have certain individuals in the society that people believe they listen to, if you engage those individuals, you can have all of the people released without paying a dime. One. Two, if you have surrounded the hostage, even if you don't know the specific place where they are, but you know the scope, you have the scope of the circumference, and then they know that there is no exit for them unless they release this individual, they could release without paying money. The third consideration is what happened, I think, sometimes back during President Buhari's administration, where a governor in Nigeria paid ransom without the knowledge of the federal government, and the people were rescued. Federal government was not involved, never encouraged, but the people paid ransom.
I'll hand over to Rimba now. But so what you're saying is that the federal government know people who know where the bandits are, who can negotiate with the bandits, and that's the channel they use.
That's
the second.
Let me say something. There is a problem with making a conclusion on someone who has not said something. Inference is good, but only if the inference is okay. The first time I gave explanation, you concluded, and I never said that.
I'm giving you the opportunity to
but no, don't make conclusion.
No.
If I explain something you're not clear, you can ask, you can do follow-up. But you cannot conclude by saying, so I take it that federal government does that. No, it's wrong.
Okay. Let's make progress.
Yeah. So let's talk about, let's continue on the issue of insecurity as it continues to dominate at the moment. The US Congress continues to meet to deliberate on this, and their current position is that they feel that Nigeria is not doing enough. Congressman Chris Smith outlined a number of issues. He's saying that, well, we're not seeing anybody getting arrested. We're not seeing anybody surrendering arms, and we're also not seeing people returning to their homes. So he says, by his own metrics, this means that the Nigerian government is not doing enough. Of course, domestically, we've seen the rejigging, we've seen movement. We've seen there's some strategic changes going on.
Right.
However, ultimately, we're yet to see results. So just to piggyback off of the, your conversation with Ayo as well, to say, well, the concerns are that a lot of this is becoming a bit cosmetic because people are being released. We celebrate their safe return home, but the culprits remain at large, and it feels there is impunity. It feels that there are powerful people who are in control here that the government is scared to challenge or deal with. What is holding the government back from just acting decisively, since we seem to know who's responsible for all these crimes?
If you recall, many months ago, we arrested the leaders of Ansaru terrorist organization, which some of them were in the US terror list. The American government lauded us. Months earlier, we decimated some bandits, and some also surrendered, which the US embassy lauded us. So we have one or two results to show. But in terms of saying we are not seeing people being arrested, people are being prosecuted, well, that's an expectation on the part of America. It's also an expectation on the part of the Nigerian people. But dealing with terrorism and intelligence-driven exercise is not one that is subjected to public opinion. It is subjected to the efficacy and efficiency of that work. We also understand the rhetorics associated with Donald Trump's style of governance. I mean, there are people he will finish meeting with you. Tomorrow he castigate. Barely 6 hours after we met with Hexet, he phoned the Fox News and said he's not happy with Nigeria. But his tactics has been to use the bullish approach and get you to the table. I mean, Saudi Arabia is a country of particular concern, but he gave a red carpet welcome to MBS, and they signed a deal for $600 million US. He was even asking him to go beyond to 1 trillion. So we understand Donald Trump, we understand America.
Well, beyond Donald Trump, what are because you said, it's about efficacy and efficiency.
Right.
What are the metrics that you're using to gauge the fact that, all these strategic reshuffles you're doing are actually being successful? Okay. So forget America's metrics. They've said theirs. What are Nigeria's metrics?
So Nigerian metrics is number one. We have all of the abducted people from Kwara rescued. We consider that a success. Some people don't. We have 26 or so from KB that were rescued or recovered. Some people feel it is not enough. On the government side, we feel it's a way to go. We have these other ones from Niger that we're hoping in the coming from
Niger State?
Yes, that we're hoping more will come. We on the government side, we might see a success. Some people will see it differently. We have the president, ordered a security emergency and asked that police recruit 50,000, military recruits over 20,000. Police have, I think, they are deployed, or rather recall 11,000. DSS is sending people to the forest to help with the forest rangers. And then we are bringing back the Save the School initiative, where we bring students from outskirts under this arrangement of a mega school. Those ones in local government will bring them back to the unity school. If you know northern Nigeria is different from south. In southern Nigeria, one state to the other, the proximity is small. In the northern Nigeria, from one state to the other might be like from one country to another. We have large expanse of land, we have ungoverned spaces. These are the places they exploit.
But we can't arrest people.
What about those ones who've arrested and we are prosecuting them?
What about the ones that are responsible for these rescue and recovery missions?
If we have them, we'll arrest them.
Okay.
And if we arrest them, we'll prosecute them. The Terrorism Prevention Act is clear. In your monologue earlier, I overheard, I don't know if it was you or somebody who was saying that there is analysis.
That's
I'm so
below
sorry.
the belt.
Sorry, I take it back. You know, where we're talking about amendment of the law, Terrorism Prevention Act to define bandit. All has been taken care of. In 2022, there was a federal high court decision that the federal government should declare. The federal government did that.
Daniel Bwala, I mean, when you are not speaking for government, you are a lawyer. That's your main calling. And now, one of the things that came out of this latest joint congressional hearing in the US was the recommendation that the Nigerian government should declare Sharia law unconstitutional, and that all these Hisbah units in the 12 northern states of Nigeria should be disbanded by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Well, I had commented on this, but you know, you are very familiar with the issue of Sharia law and its, you know, constitutionality. But can even the United States dictate to Nigeria how to conduct its internal affairs?
They don't have the locus.
Or that the constitution should be amended.
They don't have the
on
locus.
their say-so.
In doing that, it will amount to infringing on the territorial integrity and territorial right of a country. Even the threat of possible military invasion is still not consistent with the UN Convention, because there are only 3 conditions upon which another country will invade militarily. Either you are invited by that country, or you are at war with that country, or the United Nations ask you to be in that country. But all of the threats to come, it is still also a threat to sovereignty. The Sharia law is not a national law. We also practice federal system of government, although their own is more advanced. But our own also recognizes that the federal government cannot make laws for the states. But the state's power to make laws is also subject to the overriding powers of the federal government. Some of these congressmen who come from the Republican Party, they are not very detailed in the way they carry out their congressional duties. And, you know, when you are more powerful than the other, you can afford, even your misbehavior will be seen as a style. That's what is happening. But we differ with them with this idea of asking us to amend the Constitution. Nigeria is a sovereign state, has never been colonized by America anywhere.
And we are not Venezuela.
And we are not Venezuela.
We have to go now.
We have mosquitoes.
But for the avoidance of doubt,
that can infect soldiers.
Dr. Bwala, for the avoidance of doubt and so that you're not misconstrued, I really want to set the record in terms of your statement around. I just want you to clarify that does the federal government have people who negotiate on their behalf with terrorists? So just
we don't have. Okay. And if you find out, we'll be happy to know who the people are.
No, okay. All right, thank you. It's just that question around how that was done.
The federal government is even telling the governors now not to be subjected to negotiation. But, you know, when it comes to individual families, you cannot, if somebody's child or children are in abduction, despite what federal government says don't do that, they can decide to do without the knowledge of the government. But it's not a state policy.
Okay. Because Bayo Nanuga said they called them.
Yeah, because there's many gaps. I wish we had more time. There are many gaps. Show. You know, it's just almost a miracle that they got the girls. I mean, and we love it that they are rescued. But it's just that question. There's just a big gaping gap there around what really happened. But thank you so much. No, not at all. We want answers. I think the public, we owe it to the public to give them, clarity on the government's policy on handling insecurity in Nigeria.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.